Dude, I've like licked 100 calories of whipped cream off of this. Hi everyone, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a Valentine's Day special because it's February 14 and everyone knows that today is a day of love. Sadly for me, I'm single, but that's fine. That's fine. I think it's the first year I've been single on Valentine's Day in a while, but it honestly feels pretty good. I think I'm gonna end up going to see a Rocky Horror Show with my roommate, so that'll be fun. So yeah, so today we're gonna do a Valentine's Day special. We're gonna eat some Cherry Garcia, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, some Cool Whip, which I've obviously already opened up, strawberries. We have this cute little mug with a bunch of Lindor white chocolate, and we have lychee gelato from the latest scoop. I got this from the supermarket. I've never tried it, so I'm super excited. And we're also going to talk about a very Valentine's Day-esque murder. Also, great tip for if you really like Cool Whip. I love putting it in the freezer and just eating it like that. As y'all can tell, I'm also dressed up, you know, looking cute. Okay, so I'm gonna try the lychee gelato. Personally, I think gelato and ice cream are the same things. Like, I know there's a difference, but they kind of taste the same to me. I definitely feel like gelato has a lighter essence. I love the lychee pieces in here. Alright, so we're also going to try the Cherry Garcia. I kind of want to just have everything open and try it at the same time. Wow, totally not melted. So I really like Cherry Garcia besides the fact that it's chocolate. I don't know why, I'm just not a big fan of chocolate in general. I know I have like chocolates right there, but I couldn't think of like, oh, what's a really romantic, like nice little dinner. Whenever I eat this at home, my little sister eats all the chocolate and I just eat everything else. I think we're both lactose intolerant though. Anyways, as I was saying, I'm pretty sure my little sister and I are pre-diabetic, or predisposed for diabetes, which is fine. So in general, I really like lychee, but when I was a kid, I went to Vietnam, and I think I ate so much lychee that I ended up getting food poisoning. I haven't been back to Vietnam since. So, I have a very estranged relationship with lychee and my Vietnamese culture. I think Valentine's Day is really just a good day for companies to whip out all their red shit. Like, I genuinely feel like there's no other meaning behind Valentine's Day. I feel like I've only read about like people eating strawberries and whipped cream. You know, I've never actually done it myself unless it was like alone in my room, like in the middle of the night. But never in a really romantic setting. Like, I seriously think it's just something that comes out from like Draco Harry fanfiction. What? This is not attractive. See, this is why I feel like people can't eat it romantically. What is this? Am I doing something wrong? This is why I'm single. Anyways, this video is for all the single people. And I guess one's in relationships. So for a story today, we're going to talk about Dr. John Hamilton and his wife, Susan. So, okay, hold up. So this is a story of Dr. John Hamilton and his wife, Susan. They were married for 14 years, they lived in Oklahoma City, and they seemed like your typical average American household. John was a gynecologist. He worked in a clinic, and occasionally Susan would work part-time. One of the negatives to this wasn't necessarily the fact that they were working together, but it was the fact that John was also taking part in abortions, right? And so just imagine Oklahoma City, an abortion doctor, like it's not gonna go well. Obviously, the treatment towards them wasn't like some kind of Handmaid's Tale where, spoiler alert, where all the doctors who were involved in abortions were hung and killed and just wonderful things. But the couple did end up receiving a lot of death threats from pro-life activists, which isn't fun. But despite that, they stuck together and they were what seemed like a power couple. Friends, family, all thought they were doing fine. Or at least the friends that were initially interviewed, they said they were doing fine, right? And they were happy. And after all, John seemingly was a very romantic person. He did a lot of grand gestures. On the day that they got married, he actually bought Susan a Porsche, which sounds really amazing. And throughout the 14 years of marriage, he was just known to lavish her with gifts and luxurious hotels or like vacations, right? On Valentine's Day 2001, he bought Susan a bouquet of super expensive orchids from the local flower shop. But then by the time he came home, she was dead. She was drowning in her own pool of blood, basically. And something had hit her so badly in the head that you could see parts of her skull and pieces of her brain, which is, strawberries are really good. After closer investigation, she was actually strangled with 2 of his neckties and, like I said, beaten to death by some kind of blunt object. When police came to the scene of the crime, John was so grief-stricken that when he was trying to move his car, he struggled with just putting the keys into his actual like car door and starting it up. So that kind of gives you a general gist of how he's feeling and how he's reacting to the scene. So initially, police didn't think to look at John. After all, when they interviewed like Their friends and families, friends said that they seemed fine, they seemed happy. But once they started investigating the actual crime scene, they found a particular letter. So investigators found a note from Susan herself, and it was along the lines of, I got these cards 2 weeks ago, so I guess it doesn't seem appropriate now, but I still love you, goodbye. And so they started unraveling the pieces, right? Because this doesn't seem like a happy marriage, you know? Like, if you really love someone, are you gonna leave a weird note that's kind of like, here, I got this 2 weeks ago, love you, bye. Right? It just doesn't sound right. And so they started investigating further, asking more of her family members, and turns out Susan was thinking of getting a divorce because she had caught John on the phone with strippers or topless dancers. Police continued with the investigation, also found traces of blood and flesh in his car. So they basically arrested him right away. I think it was like 2 hours into the investigation when they were like, yep, it's him. Interestingly enough, when they were looking through the house, they also found her jewelry hidden in an underwear drawer, which it wasn't originally in. So police suspect that John himself had planted it there just so that it seems like a robbery. Not only this, experts testified that he had blood all over his collar and on his sleeve. The blood stains themselves were consistent with someone who had beaten their wives, you know, and so it seemed to make sense that it was John. So during the actual trial to, I guess, assess whether or not Dr. John Hamilton should be put under life probation or the death penalty, etc., the jurors, who were predominantly women and young individuals, were actually crying at images of the scene. Tears were especially shed when Dr. Jeffrey Gofton, who was kind of like in charge of explaining all the crime scenes, what the pictures meant, what do you think happened, stuff like that. Especially when he started talking about the fact that she most likely died from 3 blunt hits to the head. The murderer only needed to hit her once to break her skull. So that kind of gives you a gist of what was happening. Dude, I'm getting a mega brain freeze. The doctor also assessed that her face had been smashed repeatedly into the tiles of their little home, which is funsies. Overall, though, the jury spent around 2 days just looking at evidence, photographs of the scene, and what the victim looked like after her injuries. On the second day, Sergeant Larry Spruill, who's a crime scene investigator, kind of came in to testify and talk about the evidence found. They noted that Susan actually had a bunch of fingerprint marks all over her neck, around the tie areas. And so they're under the assumption that she was actively trying to claw her way out of it. So she was grabbing her neck, grabbing the neckties, trying to take them off. Prosecutors and witness also noted that when John was arrested, he had a bunch of fingerprints or can you really call them fingerprints now? Nail marks, or just fingernail marks all over his shoulder. So she was really trying to fight. So Sergeant believes that the cause of death was most likely not just the blood objects being forced into her head that actually happened afterwards. He believes that she actually died from having her breathing restricted. He's under the impression that she was he wrapped the neckties around her and just kind of threw her around for a bit. And she died within 2 minutes. So she didn't really have a chance. And we don't know why he felt the need to continue injuring her with those objects. Because after all, she was already dead. I think at that point it was just him doing it out of fear. Or as some may say, crime of passion. It's so good. I feel like the strawberries I get are always super tart though. But the Cool Whip kind of balances it out, so it's fine. Anyways, even after they went back to the house and tried to retrace all the steps, one issue they ran into was the fact that they couldn't find any evidence outside of the house. So they weren't sure, like, oh, how could the murderer come in but not leave? You know, there has to be some way of exiting the house. There was no blood outside, no footprints, nothing. So they believe that the murderer, who is John, killed her, got blood all over his clothes, went to a shower, took a long shower and let the water keep running, poured cleaning solution down the drain so that it would remove all traces of blood. Carefully disposed of his bloody clothes inside a plastic bag, moved it to his car, and made sure to turn on the heater or something in the bathroom so that water would evaporate. Smart man. I mean, he was a doctor after all, but shitty person. So thankfully, he was arrested. Jury decided that best step was to give him life in prison. So now he's just chilling in jail. Do I think that's necessarily the fate that he should have received? No. I don't know. And funny thing, he was actually trying to pin it on one of the like conservative pro-life people who like had previously threatened Susan and him. Relatively believable, but bitch, you didn't cover up your evidence. So yeah, that's the story of Dr. John Hamilton and Susan. Now we're gonna dive into my thoughts on Valentine's Day. And I guess the idea of love. Anyways, I genuinely think that if you're in a healthy relationship, you shouldn't have to depend on a capitalist, fictitious holiday to symbolize your love, you know? Like, I think Valentine's Day in general is really antiquated and unnecessary. And just a really easy way to capitalize on insecurity and this human desire to not be alone. That's kind of depressing. You know who I sound like? If you've ever watched the movie After, it's on Netflix. Terrible. I watched it 3 times, but basically it's some girl on Wattpad wrote a Harry Styles fanfic. It got published, so of course she had to change the name and everything. It got published and then became a movie after. Now it's on Netflix, and I sound exactly like Harden or Harry Styles when he's like arguing about Elizabeth Bennet and like Darcy from fucking Pride and Prejudice. When did people even read Pride and Prejudice? These people are at college. But yeah, he's like, love is a transaction, blah blah blah. And when I first watched it, I was like, you know what? His mom is either dead or gone. I was right. I'm not gonna tell you which one, but I was right. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm not hating on. I'm not trying to hate on love. Like, love is cool. I think the idea of a romantic relationship and companionship is really nice. But I feel like media and society idealize this notion that romantic love should be like, you know, falling in love, and it should be all this euphoria, and you know, you see someone and you know, and I feel like that's not it, you know? Recently I also watched The Notebook, and I just thought it was good. Okay, I cried. I'll give it that. I'll give Nicholas Sparks that. But I still thought the movie was kind of bullshit, you know? Like, why are these people fighting? And it feels really unhealthy. Like, I feel like real love should come out of waking up every day and thinking, I want to make this work. You know, it should come out actively loving someone and caring for them and willing to be vulnerable and putting all that shit or putting all this effort actively, you know? Because I feel like the idea of just like being in love that society has a tendency to portray is too whimsical and fleeting. I really don't like strawberries. The more I eat this, I'm like, Like, I think strawberry flavor is good. Like, the flavor of strawberries is really good, but not strawberries themselves. I don't know, like... I think that's just me being a hater. Anyways. Another thing that really pisses me off is this idea that our life purpose should be to find someone. And I know people nowadays are trying to get away from the idea that you need to have like that typical like 3.5, 4 sized family, you know, like white picket fence, your partner, 2 kids, and a golden retriever, right? But I feel like a lot of society is still under this impression that we need someone, you know? You need to find the one. You need to get a soulmate, or, you know, you don't want to die alone. The idea of dying alone, it sounds terrifying. And of course, like, humans are social creatures, you know? We all need some kind of socialization. And the idea of having a significant other is like this is my person for life. You know, it's different from a best friend or a good friend, or even, I don't know. But it's different from a friend in that, you know, your friends can have other friends. You can have multiple friends, hopefully. But ideally there should just be monogamy, you know? Like, it should just be you and your partner, and there should be some kind of, not codependence, but a different dynamic in a relationship versus like just a friendship. So don't get me wrong, like, relationships are great. Having someone is great. But I genuinely feel like as human beings, like, you don't need to get married. You don't need to have a partner to be happy and to not die alone, you know? I feel like definitely I need someone. I definitely need something. I've learned to accept that. But I think I'd just be happy with having my family and friends and a dog. A lot of dogs and cats. But yeah, I don't know. But I feel like that's one of the issues with society. Constantly creating this weird... And okay, the thing is, people don't see it as fear-mongering, but I see it as fear-mongering. Like, they're basically saying that if you don't find someone, you're gonna die alone and you're gonna be unhappy. And that's some kind of fear-mongering right there. You know? On holidays like Valentine's Day, don't make it any better. When everything's all heartsy and all focused on love and everything. And in reality, if you're happy and in a romantic relationship, you should be celebrating that every day instead of just on this one day. That perpetuates this notion of materialism and capitalistic intentions behind love. And don't get me wrong, it's also something that I need to actively work on. Because I have this huge fear that I'm gonna end up dying alone. I don't know why. I think it's like a weird... No, I definitely do know why. It's like a weird attachment issue. I'm scared that I am truly unlovable as an individual. Or I'm just really scared that no one's ever gonna want to be with me. It's weird because I know I have a lot of amazing friends and family members who love me and who I love unconditionally. But I guess that ties into, again, that idea of romantic love versus platonic love, where it's like a sense of, not obligation, but a sense of belonging. Like you belong, not you belong to this person. That sounds really creepy and like, that just sounds wrong and problematic. But I guess there's a sense of exclusivity and exclusiveness. You're exclusive. That's what it is. Romantic relationships are exclusive versus platonic relationships or friendships. I feel like as humans, let's face it, having something to ourselves feels a lot nicer. You feel more loved, you just feel like you're someone's number one choice, and that's just really nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a common fear of, dying alone. I think that's kind of sad, like, you shouldn't be scared to die alone. Because there's nothing wrong with being alone. As long as you're comfortable with yourself, it shouldn't be sad because I'm not married or something, Although, I was watching Sophia Negart's marriage or her wedding video and it was just... Did I cry? Yeah. Did I go on David Bridal's website afterwards and look at wedding dresses? Yeah. Have I planned out my wedding? Yeah. I feel like beach weddings are wonderful ideas, but terrible.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Anyways, I think Valentine's Day is a terrible holiday that perpetuates this idea that dying alone is bad, but it's not. You can be happy with yourself as an individual or with friends and family. it's just super focused on capitalism and this notion of materialist. It just portrays this idea that love is materialism, which is wrong. So I feel like Valentine's Day is predominantly or Valentine's Day is to just make couples or just insecure people feel like they need to compensate and go all out on gifts or expensive jewelry, expensive dinners, etc. And I feel like if it's real love, you should be celebrating that every day. You know, whether it's small notes, small texts here and there, offering to cook dinner, doing the chores, aspects in a healthy dynamic. Instead of just going all out and spending a shit ton of money and effort and time just to feel this capitalist notion of love. Honestly, the only thing I really like about Valentine's Day is the fact that everything's like discounted the day after. Personally, I don't like chocolate that much, but I know everyone else does, so I'm like, why not just buy a shit ton of chocolate? You know, if anything, I could just hoard it, hoard it until Halloween. Which sounds kind of disgusting now that I think about it. But yeah, I feel like for this Valentine's Day, I'm literally just gonna be spending it with my friends, who I honestly really deeply care about, and I'm pretty excited. I've brought up the idea of pretending to propose to him / her so that we can get free food at restaurants, but they're not that into it, which I think is kind of, you know, kind of lame, but whatever. I've eaten like 1,000 calories worth of Cool Whip, but I still feel empty inside. Stomach wise. I also think a good way of kind of deviating from that capitalist idea of Valentine's Day is just showing love to your friends, showing or emphasizing the platonic relationships in your life, because I feel like those get really overshadowed. And I know a lot of people have a tendency where, like, if they get into a romantic relationship, they kind of just forget about their friends and family, which is really terrible. And I know I've done it before too, and there's this immediate sense of guilt after, and it really fucks up your relationship with those people, you know? Because then it starts feeling like you're not prioritizing these friendships. And it's just not cool. I think I started this a couple years back when I really started treating my friends out and acting like they're my partners, or the idea of a significant other, because they are significant to me. And so I always try to take them out. I surprise them with meals, flowers. When my best friend turned 19, wait, no, I think she turned 20. No, she was 19. When she turned 19, I ended up surprising her. I got off of work early and got her a really nice cake from this really nice bakery called Porto's. And I don't know, she was super happy. Her family was really shocked. And it was just a really nice gift. And I feel like you don't need to have a partner to do those really sweet things and those small, like sending good morning texts, telling someone you're proud of them, telling them, asking how their day was, what they ate today. Just all those small things that we often think about when we're in a relationship. You can do that with your friends. Like, I always try to make sure that my roommate's eating, that she gets to bed on time, because I don't know. I think that's love. So yeah, I feel like, later I'm gonna call my, now I'm like, fuck, I should call up all my friends and family. I don't know, take this time to really show your appreciation and gratefulness for the people around you and the people that love you unconditionally, platonically and romantically, whatever. And not just because it's Valentine's Day, but just because you love them. Anyways, I'm not gonna finish the ice cream. Fuck that. I got a brain freeze and I had to just, it wasn't fun. But I definitely am gonna finish these strawberries and the whipped cream. The whipped cream melted a little, so it's not as like, I don't know, I like it when it's a little frozen, so it has like this ice cream texture and it feels like, no, it feels like when you freeze cream puffs. There's this nice little crunch to it. Or not crunch, but resistance when you bite into it. It's really good. Anyways, that's it for today. I'm gonna clean this up and I'm gonna go out with my roommates. Have a really good time. And happy Valentine's, everyone. I hope y'all get to spend it with whoever you love. Thanks. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down whatever true crime mystery you want me to talk about.